I just realized I said the one word they told me not to say. I apologize, but whatever, you've heard it. You've done it. But anyway. Chicka boom boom boom. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Good morning, hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How are you? Oh my God, thank you for tuning in tonight to my. This is New York, upstate New York, public access, Amsterdam. Thank you for checking in with us today. We have a whole show about different things. Whoa, someone just yelled something at me. I'm not doing anything wrong. Why are you yelling at me, crackhead on the side of the road? Fuck, my whole car is fucked up. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is where you are. Thank you for listening to Hypothetically with Will Noonan. That's me, guys. I'm coming at you right now from my Honda Accord sedan. I'm driving through the streets of Boston right now. Southie to be specific, but I'm on my way to Tingsboro, Massachusetts. So let me tell you, this is not a regular episode of Hypothetically, because it's not a regular gig I'm going to. It's currently right now 12:30 a.m. It's after midnight. It's an after midnight gig. Well, you're listening to Hypothetically After Midnight with me, Will Noonan. So I'm in a goofy mood because I've been drinking coffee and I've been smoking pot and I've been waiting all night long to go, get in my car and drive to this motherfucking gig out in Tingsboro at a high school. Actually, maybe I shouldn't have said where it is and all that, but it's out in, it's out there. Excuse me, I'm driving. It's out there in that town. I don't know if it's for that town because it's not at the high school. It's at some place, private place, but that's where I'm going. And sometimes I do these gigs. Sometimes I do gigs in the middle of the night. Rare. It's rare that it happens, but now that it's summertime again, that means that I'm back in this zone. I'm going to close the sunroof. That's where a lot of this extraneous noise is coming from. So let me bring you through what's just been going on the past 15, 20 minutes or so. Hold on, a cop is pulling up next to me right now. He's looking at me quite suspiciously. I've been driving my car just for the past few minutes, but before that, I was on just my fucking couch at home. I don't really have a couch. I have a nice little gaming chair. Can you tell right now that I'm talking to you with the full knowledge that there's just a policeman sitting next to me wondering, like, what is this guy doing right now? Is he high, or is he just doing a weird phone call that's not really a machine, a phone machine that he's talking into? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I'm doing because a homeless guy just walked across the street carrying another homeless guy, and now the cop has to deal with that, and I'm free. I'm back on my way, motherfuckers. No cop is behind me, and I'm on my way to go do this gig. So I haven't done a gig like this in a while, but last week I did a gig in a backyard. And it's fucking summertime comedy time. But this one should be interesting. So today, how do you get ready for a gig that's at 1:30 in the morning, right? How do you fucking prepare for a gig that's at 1:30 in the morning and it takes 40 minutes to drive through? Fuck. Well, I hope I talk better than this when I'm at the gig. Not necessarily gonna happen. I think that might have been a good idea. That's why it's a good idea to do the podcast before and after. I'm going to do some of it on the way there. It's only about a half-hour drive, and then I'll do the gig. Hopefully nothing horrible enough will happen that I'll have to share the audio with you guys. And then I'll record a little bit more on the way back, so you guys are kind of with me tonight on this weird gig that I'm going to, where I'm going to be doing stand-up comedy for high school kids at 1:30 in the morning. And I'm drinking some coffee right now. I'm on the iced coffee. I had a string of gigs like this a while back where I got pretty good at drinking tons of coffee and just kind of gutting out how horrible that can be. Sometimes you just have too much coffee and it's like you're sick and anxious and stressed, and you just gotta buckle up and deal with that time as long as you can. So today was sort of a weird day, you know. It's like, all right, I can't like pretend like I don't have this thing to do in the middle of the night tonight. So you kind of got to be cognizant of it a little bit. Went for a run. It was too hot, too humid. I was still too sore from this thing I did. So I was like, didn't enjoy that much, but at least it tired me out. And I was like, oh, I'm going to take a big nap. I'm going to take a big naparoo and get ready for this. Didn't get a great nap in. My roommate and another buddy of mine were like hanging out in the next room, and they were kind of making some noise. I can't be super mad, you know. I'm trying to sleep in the middle of the day, so it's like not on them to have to be quiet, but I didn't really get the full Z's I was hoping to get, but what are you gonna do? That's such is life. I got a little bit of a rest though. So that was kind of my afternoon, and then I woke up and I was like, all right, how do I get ready for this? So I had some more coffee just to kind of wake up from the nap, and then I got a little work done, did a little writing, did a little, got my date book kind of set up for the next week or two, got some avails written down, just boring stuff. Then it was like 7, so I was like, all right, let's watch the baseball game. And then a couple innings into the baseball game, it was already getting pretty clear that the Sox weren't going to be having a good night. I just could feel it. Been watching baseball games my whole life. I get these sixth sense feelings, and I was like, it's not looking good for the Sox tonight. I can just tell. So I put it on mute and decided to watch a movie while I watched the game. Like, kind of half-ass watch the game while I'm watching a movie. So I decided to watch the movie Clue from 1985. All because I read a weird Reddit comment this morning where someone referenced Clue. And I thought, man, I'd love to give that movie a watch. I haven't seen it since I was I used to really love it when I was a little kid. And then I probably watched it again, like in my 20s or something, and now it's like, let's give it a rewatch as a professional comedian, see what I think about it. And guess what? I think it's awesome. I really enjoyed it. Just finished watching that. That's how I spent my evening. Smoked a couple bowls, watched the movie, and had to go get an iced coffee at like 10 before the Cumberland Farms closed. Put the iced coffee in my fridge. Started drinking that around like 11:30, and now I'm sort of drinking it right. It's just like I just did a half marathon last week, and it's all about, running a half marathon or running a marathon. It's all about, you got to conserve some energy. You got to know when to dish a little bit of energy out. You got to know when to fucking to push it a little bit, push the pace. But other times you got to know when to hold back the pace and give yourself a little rest. And that's what a night of comedy like this is like. You got to know when to sit on your ass and watch a little Clue and smoke a little pot. And then you got to know when to fucking drink some coffee and get off your ass and get out there and do some stand-up. But all in all, a couple of my friends who are comedians or others, lazy guys, things were like, oh my God, man, I can't believe you're, like, how are you going to do that? And like, what are you going to feel like the next day? And it really like kind of makes you go like, there's people who work nights, and there's people who like have day jobs and night jobs, and there's people who are barely getting any rest out there. Or also, you can be kind of spoiled as entertainers. You forget that driving like, I'll still be done with all this at 2 a.m. Like, when I was a bartender in New York City, or in a fucking karaoke guy in New York City, I didn't finish work until 4 a.m. on a regular basis. Now, I was much younger then, but I worked with people who were in their 30s and 40s, and they managed to do it. But I look back, they were drinking a lot of coffee, and I used to be like, what's with that coffee, man? Why you drink all that coffee? Fucking, now I get it. Now I'm like, coffee is so key to staying awake late at night as you get older. Especially, I've always been a night owl my whole life, but the running thing kind of fucks with that a little bit. Because if you're doing a lot of miles, it's just like, what are you gonna do? Your body's like, sometimes it's like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I get sleepy. And also lately I've been on sort of a normal person schedule. I've been getting up around 9 a.m., 10 a.m., which I don't really like. I'd rather sleep a little bit later. I don't know if any of this is interesting. Sometimes you guys like it when I just give you like the mundane trivialities of a comedian's lifestyle, and other times you send me emails like, Will, shut the fuck up. I do have a bunch of topics going right now. Myra from Twitter, who's Australian, she was like, you should talk about things that you're cranky about or whatever. That's always good podcasting. You're always interesting when you're upset. A good rant is always nice, I think she said. And that's reiterated often by other listeners to this podcast. You guys like it when I'm cranky, when I'm feeling cranked. The truth is, I'm trying to totally not be that way. Almost all the time. I try and be happy. You know, my new thing, not my new thing, it's been my thing for a while, but I'm trying to enjoy life more, man. I'm helping a friend of mine the past month or so. I've been helping out a friend of mine who's trying to quit drinking. And it's interesting, you know, because he's about the same age I was when I was quitting drinking. He drinks or drank the same type of booze that I drank when I was drinking. And it just he really reminded me of myself. And just talking to him and helping him through it, you know, it gave me some perspective on because, you know, it's been almost, this year will be 9 years since I went through all that. And then next year after that will be 10. That's a long time. And I was telling someone the other day, it gets harder and harder to remember, you know, how all that went down and what it really felt like and what things were like before, you know, I kind of got my shit together. Sometimes it can still feel like, in a relative way, sometimes I can feel like, ah, man, I'm fucking up, or, ah, man, like, you know, I'm losing my grip on, like, working hard a little bit or something. I'll just, like, sort of worry about things like that from time to time, but, you know, I got to put that in the perspective of, I was once a very fucking unemployable young man who, like, you know, I was a total and complete mess 9 years ago. So I've done, you know, helping this guy out. He's looking at me, he's going like, man, I wish I could be like you. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. And I'm going like, you know, I have done some cool shit, and I should be grateful. That's the point. Like, and I am most of the time, but sometimes you listen to podcasts, that's just life. Sometimes you're just not going to be so grateful. Sometimes you're going to be, why am I not doing more in my career, or whatever the fuck. For me lately, it's kind of been money. I'm just always like, I don't feel like I'm getting paid enough anymore. Or like, I feel like I'm getting better at comedy, and the gigs are going better, and there's more people coming to see me, but I'm not really like making much more money. No, you know what? That's bullshit. I'm making more money every year than I do the year before, but I just wish I made more. I just wish I made more, like, in general. I wish I made a better living. But I bet almost everyone in America feels that way, so. What are you gonna do, right? What can you fucking do? But, man. Moving on to other stuff that's just, you know, pissing me off, man. What's pissing me off, Myra? Who looks like she has an awesome life, by the way. She sends me snaps sometimes of her plethora of animals. She's down there in Australia with, like, dogs and cats. And I have no pets at all up here in Boston. It's my roommate, Pat, who's like a pet. A pet that complains. In English. But I guess if I had something to complain about, it's a thing I've complained about a gajillion times on this fucking podcast, which is the state of comedy right now, and the state of what we think of as stand-up comedy and what we call stand-up comedy. And it's just, I'm literally starting to feel a little bit of, I don't want to be lumped in with these fuckers who are calling themselves comedians. Like, in my mind sometimes I'm like, if what it is if what it means to be a comedian changes much more, I might have to switch genres and become something else. Start doing one-man shows that are just stand-up comedy, but I'll have to trick people into kind of coming to see him or something, because it's just getting to be a fucking... It's just lame, man. At all levels, too. Like, the famous motherfuckers, all the way down to, like, a lot of the new open micers. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it's just, there's no balls. I feel like a lot of comics probably say this every generation about the new generation coming up, but I just don't know, man. I see other people saying it too. It's sort of kind of what's happening with pro baseball right now. They keep taking things away. They keep changing in an effort to speed up the game and make things a little more exciting. They keep taking things out, you know. No one steals anymore. No one does the hit and run anymore. No one does, like, the little tips and tricks of baseball that kind of, you know, that's why you hire a certain manager. That's what the difference between National Leaguers and American Leaguers, you know, little stuff. But now it's more about stats and risk management and not taking too much risk or sacrificing too much. You know, the sacrifice bunt or the sacrifice fly was always sort of a, trademark of baseball. And now a lot of coaches see those as, like, not worth the sacrifice, which is nuts. Just because stats say that. You know, baseball's an emotional game. But comedy, stand-up comedy is kind of going the same way. They keep just taking things out. You know, you can't fucking talk about... You can't say certain words anymore. Even in the point of... You know, even in the way you're trying to tell a joke or trying to explain something. Like, just, I don't have any jokes with the N-word in it, but I should be able to try and write one where, like, it's possible that I could say that. Or now with Samantha Bee, the word cunt is off limits. It's like we're turning into, like, we're reverting back to the 1950s with this language policing. You know, we're backstabbing. Comedians are just backstabbing each other constantly with race baiting and, you know, accusations of not being woke enough. Comics separate themselves into groups and battle instead of, like, taking on the world. And it's just kind of... You know, even people you don't like even someone like Kathy Griffin, who I don't, you know, I'm not the biggest fan. I feel like her comedy is just kind of stories for gay guys, but it's like she has the right to fucking take pictures with, you know, a mannequin's head. And, you know, I was like, I know I talked about this when it happened, and I said kind of the same things, but it's like, she's a fucking comedian. She's an artist. She's not held to this standard of a politician. Everyone now is held to this standard where you're supposed to be a great person as well as whatever it is you do. And that's just not... it's just not a requisite for life to be a great... People just... Not everyone's great. That's why you recognize it when people are great, because you're like, wow, you know what? That guy, he's there's not a lot of guys like him. He's great. Yeah, it's just fucking weird to me. So, yeah, that's something that, like, pisses me off almost every single day. I've been going, you know, I do comedy. I go do shows, and I'm going to do a show for a bunch of high school kids right now, and I'm, you know, I should be able to say whatever the fuck I want to these kids. They're 18 years old. They just graduated. They're about to go into the world. And I'm sure one of the first things they're going to say to me when I get there is, like, don't talk about... don't say the word fuck, which is like always been a rule. And so I'll say, okay, I don't really care about that. But then they're like, you know, and you have a lot of weed jokes if you don't want to do this. And then I'm like, okay, now we're getting into telling me what jokes I'm supposed to do. Drives me nuts. Drives me nuts. And it's fucking allergy season right now, too. I'm fucking feeling it right now. My car is just soaked in pollen. And I can feel it in my nostrils. So that's one thing that pisses me off. This Roseanne thing, though, I'm not gonna defend Roseanne for what she did. Because that's, I mean, I defend her right to say that. I think Roseanne has the right to tweet that joke, but I also think ABC has the right to cancel her show in response. And not in the sense of like, ABC was like, unbelievable, Roseanne, we're taking a moral high ground. ABC just saw the forest for the trees and was like, well, this show is now losing money. Let's fucking cancel it. Because once she tweeted that, that's it. The outrage was too much. ABC can't look like they put up with that kind of shit. It's financial loss if ABC stands by Roseanne in that scenario. So Roseanne fucked herself and, tweeted herself out of a job. And whatever, that's just the way it is. I think she has the right to send out that tweet, but like I said, they have the right to fire her for it. And a lot of people are like, I just said the world's so sensitive now, but, calling black people apes or someone of, someone with any black in them at all, calling them an ape or a monkey, that has not been okay since since slavery. That's never been okay, even in like joking, like the N-word I'll defend. I'd be like, that's good, you can use the N-word as a joke and it can mean a little less and you can take some of the power out of it. But calling a black person an ape or a monkey, that's just never been cool. Even in like the 1940s or 1930s when they were like super racist and shit, someone would say that and they'd be like, all right, hey, back it up. That's across the line. I was telling a friend of mine when I was a kid, I was a pretty nice kid, but I think every kid on earth has their moments, right, of like meanness. You have your moments where you kind of fuck up, or you're testing the waters of like what it's like to be mean, or what it's like to, I don't know, it's just how far can I go with this body and mind of mine? So maybe I'll be a little bit mean, see what that feels like, and or you just get caught up in other kids being mean or something. But I remember this one time when I was a kid. I was on the school bus. I was really young too. I'd say probably, I don't know, 5 years old. 6 years old if I was on the school bus. Oh shit, hold on guys, doing some dangerous driving here. Might as well fucking pay attention. I was on the school bus, probably 6, 7, like really young, first grade I'm talking. And I'm on the bus and there was this kid I went to school with. He was in my grade and I always remember thinking he kind of looked like a monkey. He was a white kid. But he just had we come from fucking monkeys, man, and he had a little bit of that gene left. He kind of had a simian look to him. And I'm 5 or 6 years old, and we were all all friends and shit, but we were kind of busting balls and like however 5, 6, 7-year-old kids bust balls. I can't really remember how it all went down, but he said something about me that I didn't like, so then all of a sudden I was like, yeah, well, you look like a monkey. You look like a fucking monkey. And he started crying, and I like remember like, the bus driver was involved. I can't really remember. I was only 6 years old, but my mom was alerted about it. It was like a little bit of a controversy and a problem in my life for a boy at such a young age. And then my mom like yelled at me. She was like, that's so mean, you don't do stuff like that. And I learned a valuable lesson, whatever. So, fucking 10, 15 years go by. I'm in high school with this kid. He's a grade below me in high school. We played hockey together. I played hockey with his brothers. And we're sitting around at some high school party, like drinking beers. And there's like a quiet moment. And he's like, Noonan called me a monkey. He said I looked like a monkey when I was a little kid. And I think he thought everyone was going to be like, Noonan, you're such a dick. And, man, I'm so sorry he said that to you. What a rude, horrible thing for a guy to say. But instead, everyone was like, yeah, you do kind of look like a monkey. And he was like, fuck. And I was like, yeah, shouldn't have brought that up, man. You put it on the table. Do I look like a monkey? Let me ask these people. So I'm like 15 minutes away from my high school gig that I'm about to go to. I had a bunch of notes written down about things I could talk about this week, but I'm driving. It's pitch black. I ran a half marathon. I'll talk about that. I ran this, my first official half marathon, 13.1 miles. And it was in Boston, Massachusetts. It was the Boston Run to Remember. And it's a Memorial Day weekend run, and it's in dedication to, like, cops and firemen and EMS. Just first responders of that nature. And the ones that die. But also, you know, just to maybe take a moment to think about how you appreciate the ones that are here. And, you know, I don't know if you guys all know this. A lot of new listeners lately. My dad's a retired Boston policeman. He was a policeman for 30 years. His partner, Tommy Gill, was killed in the line of duty as a Boston cop. That happened when I was maybe 7, 8 years old. But I can remember, I remember that period of time extremely well. I remember the phone call coming to the house and stuff. Completely fucked up. You know, you talk about kids thinking what is life and what's a normal life and stuff. I thought every kid went to a lot of funerals and, like, because this guy was my dad's partner and his wife and my dad's best friend. They'd grown up together and stuff in the same neighborhood. And we, like, went on vacation and stuff with each other's families. So it was kind of like my dad, you know, we were just always at these events together, like with the mayor and stuff. And I just thought that was normal kid childhood stuff. Thought all sons of cops were just at these things all the time. So I do have a different perspective, I think, than a lot of people on police. I've been fucked by the police. I've talked about it on this podcast. I've been super upset after dealings that I've had with the police on the roads and just being a fucking human being in the world. But I've also had a bunch of really, really, really awesome experiences with police. Working with them, doing stand-up, of course, but also living in New York and you know, when I was in New York, I didn't have any hookups with the police because my old daddy-o, you know, but a lot of great cops down there, and as much as I know, there's some real fucking assholes out there that kind of ruin it. For everybody, there's also some really great ones. And they do deserve credit because, fuck it, I'm not out there. I'm not going to chase a murderer or a serial killer or a child molester. I'm just going to ignore all that shit and live my life, and someone's got to fucking deal with it. And those guys do. So it meant something to me. I bought a Boston Police Running Club fucking singlet, and I wore it with pride, and I ran 13.1 miles for American heroes. And I caught some shit on Twitter from some people. On Twitter and Facebook, they were like, hey, good for you, but, like, why fucking cops, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, it's like, come on, man, get real. You can't just, like, you can support Black Lives Matter and support, like, people not getting shot by cops and also still support cops. It's not that cut and dry. My man. But anyway, what was it like to run a half marathon? I've run a 5K, I've run a 10K in the past 2 months, and now in this month, the third month, I ran a half marathon, 13.1 miles. So I was increasing the distance each time and the difficulty and whatnot each time. Even though I do think the 10K that I did was pretty much as difficult as the half marathon, because this, although it was shorter, it was like a lot more hills. This half marathon in Boston only had a few hills, but it was, of course, long. But I was very impressed. I'm very impressed with the amount of people that are out there doing it, the amount of people that are out there doing it super fast. But you're also impressed with the people that aren't doing it super fast, but they're just doing it at all. Overweight people, soldiers in boots, cops fucking in their loafers, kind of making the point, I guess, or sacrificing a little bit. People holding flags. It's just a fun time. That was, you know, heart-wise. Exercise-wise, it was fucking tough, man. I won't lie to you guys. I'm not gonna act like I breezed through it. I did, you know, I think I did it the right way, and I kind of conserved my energy and all that shit, but I was fucking tired as fuck when it was over, and I went home, and I had to get up at like 5:30 in the morning to do it, and it was a mile from my place, so I walked there, and then I was like, I guess I didn't really think ahead too much. I was like, yeah, I'll be fine to walk back, and I was, but man, like, what a long walk. I'm another mile and a half after running a full fucking half marathon. Took a shower, and then that night I slept something like 15, 16 hours. And then I went on kind of a junk food bender for a few days. But yeah, man, I could feel it in the body. I was very, very sore, and you know, I don't know what everyone's experience is, but it's weird to finish things like that. Like, you feel good, and you're happy you're done, but for me, it takes me like 10, 15 minutes after I stop running to kind of start feeling good. I feel like this weird, sometimes I get this weird, especially in the races and shit like that, when you go like super hard, I get this weird, like fucking almost like a lightheaded, your legs are rubbery, you're hot and cold. It's just a weird kind of feeling. And then you have like a glass of water and a banana, and you feel so good. You're like listening to this going like, Will, this is fucking... I hope you don't go to this motherfucking high school and talk to these fucking little brats about your fucking running fucking habits, because it's fucking boring and I'm fucking falling asleep at the fucking wheel over here. Fucking sorry, fucking man. Bow, 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 bow. Things I don't like about the half marathon or any of these races. The gigantic crowds that you're in before and after the race are a little bit scary for the Unabomber. I'm talking like rock concert level, you know, right fucking next to each other, kind of elbow to elbow, no room. I get these thoughts like when I'm in a spot like that where I'm like, what if I just had to get the fuck out of here right fucking now? And then I think about how hard that would be. It's terrible. It's the last thing you should think of when you're in a situation like that. You know, like, what if I had to just throw up or shit, or just like I had a panic attack and I had to move? Definitely not the kind of thing you should think about. So, of course, exactly what my mind thinks about. And then I go, well, that would be horrible. And then I can feel my heart go like, ba-boom, ba-boom. It gives me like 2 warning beats. It's like, do you want to go down this mental pathway? And then I say, nope. But definitely don't enjoy that period. I try and kind of sneak in. A lot of times I get in the back waves of these things, because or at the very back of the pack, because I just don't want to fucking stand in that crowd, and then I end up kind of running through it. And then at the end, a lot of people aren't super bright, so they just like stop right after they fucking finish the thing. It's like, hey, you know, there's 10,000 other people coming behind you, so maybe you want to get out of the fucking way for a second before you collapse like you just ran in the Olympics. What else, man? Pretty much that's it. There's a lot of bathroom stuff you probably don't want to hear about, but there's no modesty. There's thousands of people going in the bathroom, in the toilets, and in the porta-johns and stuff like that. It gets a little crazy. And I guess that's all about the half. There's some, I remember. I had an epiphany in the middle of it, though. Something I really enjoyed about it. And, you know, and that's like, I was in the middle of this race, and I was looking forward, and I was running. Like I said, Run to Remember had something like 10,000 people in it. And I'm looking ahead, and I'm like, man, there's got to be 2,000 people like just running in front of me right now. And I'm watching all the back of their heads like bob up and down. And I'm going like, man, you know, this feels kind of familiar in a weird way. And then I realize it's just like stand-up, only they're all looking away. You know, when I'm on stage in a big-ass theater in front of a big crowd, it's hundreds or 1,000 people looking right at me. I just see a ton of faces. I only see the tops of haircuts. I never see the back, you know? But when these motherfuckers are all running and I'm running with them, no one's even looking at me at all. I'm just staring at the back of people's heads. And I'm running along myself, and someone's looking at the back of my head, and we're all just in our own world, but we're together in a group of thousands. And I think that's the thing I like about doing those races. You know, it's a theme in my life lately that I like to be solitary, but kind of not solitary. I've been going to Red Sox games alone lately. I've been running these huge races alone. And I do stand-up. I don't want you guys to think I'm a complete murdering psychopath. I have a lot of friends, and I go on a lot of dates, and I have lady friends. But I also like to do these loner-type activities. So if you're the type of person who enjoys your own company and you like to do things alone, don't feel like a fucking psycho, because I don't. And if I don't, you don't have to either. Anyway, I'm like 5 minutes away from this thing. I'm going to be getting off the highway soon, so I want to be paying attention to where I'm driving. But I will be back with you guys after this gig. Hope it goes good. Maybe I'll play you a clip right now. Maybe I won't. It all depends on how this goes and what the recording comes out as. But, yeah, here we go. I'm like 5 minutes away from a 1:30 a.m. high school auditorium gig. I'm doing a half an hour. I got my set list. We'll see how much I stick to it. I'm thinking maybe a little bit. But anyway, here we go. Peace out. Who are the theater kids in this school? Where are they at? Over here? I did a lot of that myself, and that's my manager and agent Mike right over there. So like, any of you want to go into show business, this could be you one day, guys. You could be here at 1:30 a.m. in a really big batting cage for a bunch of kids who are looking at you like you're the biggest dick in the world right now. It'll be a really good time. I'm always like, who the fuck is squeezing you right now? Where did this squeeze voice come from? I think it starts in high school. Remember in high school? I just realized I said the one word they told me not to say. I apologize, but whatever, you've heard it. You've done it. But anyway. Jesus, this is gonna be a little racy, but I think you guys can handle it. You guys have had sex ed, right? Sorry. Okay, that wasn't so bad. I was just worried about saying vagina, but you guys are cool. You guys are cool with vagina. I did not expect to say that as I was pulling in. For real, you guys were awesome, and best of luck to all of you. Thank you guys very much. For real, thank you.
Will Noonan, let him know, come on.
All right, it's over. I did it. Test. Hello. All right, I just got out of the gig. It was fucking pretty good. It was, I'd say, 86% pretty good, but there was some fucking tough just spots here and there. It's like just the stuff you would expect, I think, like middle of the night stuff, like they're kind of out of it, they're afraid to like laugh at certain things. They were looking around at each other a lot to like, can we laugh? Can we not laugh? There's a lot of that. But for the most part, it was good. But there was a couple moments here and there that were, just uncomfortable, basically. High school kids, it's like they're so... I mean, these are seniors, so they're a little bit, I guess, older than, like, getting out of that awkward stage. But it's like, there's something about them that's so awkward that it, like, makes you awkward. As I was leaving, I think I did okay, but as I was leaving, this group of kids was like, oh my God, you look like this one guy in our class, and here he is, and, like, take a picture of you guys together. And I was, like, taking a picture with them, and, he was like, let's shake hands. And I was like, okay. And I shake hands with the kid. And I said something. I was like, hey, time just stopped. Because, like, we look alike. And these kids just looked at me like, you are the biggest fucking weirdo. What did you just even say? You super weird, man. And I was like, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I'm going down to the Alltown down the street and buying some snacks. I almost just drove onto a fucking thing. I did drive onto it. Anyway, about to go into Alltown and buy some snacks to bring back to Southie with me. But we made it. Made it through the gig, got the money, and survived it. Alright, talk to you in a minute. Hey. So, I'm back. Alright, so, heading back to Southie now, leaving Tingsboro. I'm up on like the Massachusetts-New Hampshire border. It'll take me about 40 minutes to get back. But yeah, it's that time of night now on the highway where it's just weirdo time. It's 2:47 in the morning. 2:37 right now. I'll be getting back home around 3:20 a.m. But right now it's around 2:37, and it's nothing but drunks and thieves and comedians and truckers on the road right now. So this is always kind of a weird time to be alive, and awake, and alive. And I'll probably be awake now until at least 6 a.m. Catch a few hours of Z's, and then go out and do some stuff. But yeah, man, did the gig. It wasn't super challenging, I guess, but it wasn't super easy either. I don't have enough clean stuff. I always realize that when I'm in a situation like that. I mean, I have a half hour of pretty clean material, but I got there and they wanted me to do 45, and I'm like, all right. And then I start going like, well, my stuff's not dirty, but it's about weed, and it's about, there's some sexual aspects to some of the jokes, and I'm like, it's like stuff you don't even realize until you're saying it. You're like, oh, this kind of isn't appropriate, I guess. But we made it work, and it's all about, I think the best or worst you can do is make it fun and make something happen here and there, and make it a funny time, and I think that's what we did. I think, honestly, 30 minutes would have been perfect. 45 was a little too long. It started to get a little long there. But, I don't know if they were Tingsboro High School or not, but good kids. Seriously, good crowd. Not a dick in the bunch. Not a heckler in the bunch. They weren't chatty. They weren't like, a few of them were on their phones, but they were like in the back kind of politely being like, I'm not really that into this, but I'm here, and I didn't mind that at all. So I will say, nothing like they were a great group of young adults, high school graduates, but it's a tough situation where these kids are not really kids anymore, but this is like a high school event. So, they don't want you saying fuck to them, and they don't want you talking about too much stuff. But I kind of told the booker, I was like, hey man, you booked me. There's probably going to be some weed jokes. Sort of one of the things I talk about a lot. And, but I make it work. I make old ladies laugh at weed jokes sometimes. But anyway, I want to thank the booker, Mike, and thank Tingsboro, whoever the fuck for having me out. It was a cool time. So anyway, got some other stuff to talk about here before I wrap this up. I did a cool thing. If you're in Boston, pick up a issue of the Weekly Dig this week, the free newspaper, The Dig. I had a little interview in there for this new part of it called Bostoners, where it's people, Bostonians who smoke pot, talking about smoking pot and kind of a funny way. It's just light little stuff, but pretty happy with the way it turned out. But and shout out to Steve Torelli, who does a lot of the art for Artie and Anthony Cumia show. He is they used his art of me in that one. Oops, just saw an undercover cop who was driving behind me go get somebody else. Undercover 5. Oh, that doesn't look like a police car though to me. That looks like a help somebody out car. So, you know, there's people out there who like aren't cops that like think they are kind of like cops. They have like they have like lights on their cars, flashing lights. Like that guy just had yellow and white on the back of his car. I'm like, I don't think that's official. He just pulled over to help someone. That guy could just be a fucking psychopath. You're allowed to get a certain type of light in your car, like a flashing light that appears sort of official. But I don't know if that was a police car. That shit worries me, man. My dad used to talk about that a lot. Like, you got to hold on to your badge when you're a policeman. You know, if someone takes your badge and uses it. Like one of the times our house was broken into, they took one of my dad's old badges from one of his drawers, and like, fucking, that's dangerous, you know, because people just open their door if you have a badge. They think you're a real cop. They trust you. So I always worry about that. It's not a good. There's a fucking awesome YouTube video of a cop who is shit-faced working, and he hits a woman with his car. He hits her car, and he tries to get her to like. He just hit the wrong broad. Like he's trying to get her to just be cool and not fucking like. Like he's like, hey, I'll pay for it. I'll give you $1,000, and she's like, I'm calling another policeman. This is unbelievable. Are you drunk? Like she's just like. She's not gonna let this go, nor should she, but it was still funny to see. Great video. But yeah, I think about that sometimes, you know, like I worry about that, not for myself really, but for other chicks I know and my nieces and stuff. I worry about that fake cop. That's not a good, that's like a scam a lot of weird dudes have pulled over the years, and it's a good one. But anyway, yeah, that gig was a little dicey at times. They're not my favorite. I think Mike would hire me again to do another one, but he might try and get one other guy. Because I just can't help it. You know, you're looking into their eyes, and they're looking at you like, you can talk to us like we're fucking human beings. You don't have to talk to us like we're 8-year-olds. You know, we're adults. And then you start to like get a little like risky in your killing because that's fucking what they can handle. But you're going every time, it's like getting into deeper and deeper water, and you're like, oh man, like I'm like, now I'm in too deep, but we're all having so much fun. It feels right, like we should be this deep. I'll also admit I felt a little bit of rust. I feel like I'm already getting rusty. I didn't do a lot of comedy last weekend. I took kind of like a night off. I did a open mic last night, which was like, I literally was like, I better go do an open mic or do something tonight before I go do this high school gig tomorrow night, because I'm just like a little rusty right now. I don't think I've done stand-up in like 5 or 6 days. I kind of took a little bit. I did that half marathon, which was hard as fuck, and I tried to rest before it and after it, but yeah, there's nothing I love more in the world than stand-up comedy. I love writing jokes. I love doing it. I love like the look on the audience's face. I really do love that. Like, the audience is like, as corny as it sounds, I've said it a million times on this podcast, like, I love the audience. If it wasn't for them, and I don't think it would be, I think it would be more like acting to me. It would be more of like an ego-driven, like, yeah, that's fun, but it's also about me. But, like, they make it so you can just enjoy the motherfucking, I don't know, like, you enjoy yourself, but enjoy them enjoying you. It's like, stand-up is great in that way. It's the fucking best in that way. So I don't dislike anything about that. But my stand-up in my life in stand-up, I like a lot. But lately I've been a little bit, like, disenfranchised with the whole scene of stand-up comedy and, like, the obsession with race. Like, it's just an obsession right now. I'm hoping it's a trend, but I just don't know sometimes. I think maybe it's not a trend. If it's here to stay, it's just might be time to start thinking about another line of work. You know, like, I'll always be a comic and I'll continue to do the gigs that I do and that I like to do, but I just don't know, like, what this fucking thing is anymore, man. Like, it's just, I don't care about race, and I'm starting to dislike people I used to like because they just won't shut the fuck up about it on both sides. I'm sick of fucking people like I'm doing right now complaining about politically correct culture all the time, but I'm also sick of, like, fucking funny, like, formerly funny black comics just having the same punchline to every joke, which is like, white people, white people, white people, white people, white people, white people. It's just like, it was funny 3 fucking months ago. On to something else. And it sounds a little bit dramatic, but I do feel like all that stuff is just such shit. Like, it's such a fucking, it's such a crack in how we're getting along. Like, the jokes, when Eddie Murphy did, like, a Jewish guy in Coming to America, that was such a good impression because there was, like, a love of, there was, like, it was like an homage to the old Jewish man. There was, like, some love to the old Jewish man in that impression. Like, the way he did it just didn't offend you because you're like, A, it's just a fucking awesome impression, and B, like, he's not trying to offend. There's love with it's just, he's just doing it, you know? But I feel like a lot of these jokes, you know, and I've seen comics, that's, I think, the difference between a comic making a race joke that's mean-spirited and kind of, like, making fun of a race, and a comic that's making a race joke or maybe even doing an impression of another race, but it's spice of life type shit, and it's kind of just pointing, you know, shining a light on something real. And as long as there's no hatred in it or behind it, the audience is cool with it and it plays. That's, like, one thing I like about stand-up comedy, is that a lot of times this bullshit stuff gets pushed to the side because you just can't deny a funny joke or a funny thought or someone without hatred in their heart saying something like that, you know? So I support that, but, like, what I'm not seeing right now is a lot of that in these, quote, like, jokes about race on both sides. I mean, the punchline right now for a lot of black comics and even white comics is to just make a, like, kind of a shitty joke about white people. Like, as baseline as a joke, calling a Mexican person lazy, it would be like, white people are, think they're superior. That would be tends to be the punchline, is like, white people can't handle pain, white people can't handle any stress, white people react to everything in a way that's against black people. And, you know, at first I was kind of just like, I think these are, you know, comics being comics, I don't give a shit. But then it's just like, I just feel like it's not fucking right, man. If you can't say that joke about another race, and I also don't want to be like, hey man, let's not make fun of white people, let's make fun of everybody else. I'm not saying that either, but it's just gotta be funny. You can't just end every joke with like, right now, you could go into a club and end half your jokes with just by saying white people and have a B+ set. Get some fucking laughs, you know? But, and I think that stinks. I just think that's like lazy comedy. I would say the same thing if I saw, I have said the same thing a million times about comics who just go up there and they're like, black people, huh? You moved to a poor neighborhood, they got shitty credit, black people, blah, blah, blah. If it's a hack joke, it's just a hack joke no matter what race it's about. But right now, hack jokes about the white race are kind of looked at as almost edgy and woke and like alternative. And I'm like, all right, I can handle that. But the next step is it's like just considered truth, and now we're in a race war. You know, it's like this ends with me being hated by everyone because I'm a white guy. Like right now, it's just a punchline. But I mean, I don't mean me. I mean like a future version of me. Like it starts as jokes, and then jokes become real hate, and then people are just fucking at each other's throats, you know? I just find it funny. And sometimes I'm a little bit naive about it. And it's because I think everyone lives like me, and I'm not bragging. I don't have like some fucking liberal NPR life. I have what I consider to be a pretty average, middle of the road group of friends, which is like a lot of whites because I live in the Northeast, but I have like, you know, some pretty great black friends, some of my closest friends from a young age. You know, my college roommate was David Hall. He's one of my best friends in Catholic school was Don Corminer. And, you know, and I still keep in touch with both those dudes, especially David. Me and David were like thick as thieves for many, many years. We lived together in a few different apartments, man. I would live with him right now if I fucking could. But like, to me, I've always, I guess, had a little bit of an inside look because I've always had a lot of black friends. My first memories, my first kiss was a black girl, you know? So to me, it's not like this crazy, foreign, like, weird type of person I don't understand. It's just my dad's friend, Jim, you know what I mean? All that shit. So I think sometimes I expect people to be like, why can't you just let it go and treat everyone the same, you know, and stop fucking focusing so much on race. I also understand that there's a struggle out there I'll never know, and I've gotten told that in different ways over the years. I think I really learned about it the most when I was living in New York City and I was hanging out with my buddy Big J, who was like a 6'8" black dude who had played some ball like in Spain and shit. But he was a bouncer at one of the bars I worked with. Super funny dude, but like, and very, very kind and just cool. But like, because he was 6'8" and very, very black, and he had kind of like just a face that was unfriendly, which was funny because he was friendly. But it was good for being a bouncer. But people would be afraid of him, and especially white people, not see it. And not necessarily when he's a bouncer and he's supposed to be scary, but I'd see it when like me and him would like go to the movies and stuff. And I'd almost see people being like, what are those two doing hanging out? It was a funny kind of thing. I saw it more with him because he was just so big and tall. I think people were just kind of like, people just stared at him more, or they thought more of him or something. But you know, but he was a guy who would kind of check me sometimes and be like, well, you think you know, white people and black people live in the same world? We don't. And sometimes I'd be like, yeah, we do. You know, everyone thinks they have it worse than anyone else, Jay. Like, everyone thinks their experience is the hardest. And I do still think that is true in some respect. We all only have a one-sided view. We can't fucking help it. We only have one pair of eyes that we see through. And they're connected to our heads, which is connected to our body, which has our heart in it. So we only have one fucking experience. And we all love to think that we're so worldly and we're so empathetic and we understand everybody. And we think that, but we also go, but really, not a lot of people have it worse than me. And yeah, we jump to the extremes. We go, of course, people in the Holocaust had it worse than me. And of course, like, people down in Africa and, like, the Sudan and people who in the Middle East and, like, Syria and stuff, they have it worse than me. But not anyone I know. No one I know has it worse than me. Out of everyone I've met in my life and my friends and family, I have the most stress and I have the most struggle, and everyone should just, you know, fucking let me do my thing and not bother me so I can just, you know, everyone's just hindering. I feel like that's kind of how a lot of people feel. Even some really smart people, they have a hard time realizing that, you know, life doesn't really come easy to anyone. And we love to, like, shit on people who we think should have it made who don't. You know, a rich kid who does something stupid is always painted the same. You know, a celebrity who's not enjoying being a celebrity is always painted the same. Yeah, well, I wish I had his money. It's like, you know, man, you could be sitting on a pile of fucking gold. You know, give $15 million to someone who has, you know, an inoperable brain tumor and see what it means to them. It might mean fucking nothing to them. Might mean a lot to them because it means they can buy a pretty fucking sick, expensive doctor to take that tumor out the head. But, you know what I'm saying? Money, fucking wealth, it's all relative. Some of the richest people on earth never find love, never make a friend. You know? Everyone's got different ups and different downs, you know? I know that there's people out there who think I've had a privileged lifestyle, and I would disagree with those people. I would point to a lot of the people I grew up with who are fucking addicted to drugs or dead or just working like shitty jobs that they hate and just drinking their life away. And not to mention, I've fucking been through a lot myself. But that's the thing. I feel like that's my journey. That's me. I made some things tougher for myself, and I have to deal with it. And I think sometimes nowadays, when a young person of color starts to experience some adversity in their life, it's a little too tempting to blame it on race and racism. Because in the past, saying that may have been questioned, may have been looked at as a little bit of a cop-out, may have been looked at as like, really? Even by everyone, by all races. But now there's this kind of thing where it's a little bit hot. It's a little bit of a cool fucking thing to do, to be racially fucked with, you know, if you're a person of color. Gives you a little bit of heat, gets you some retweets, you know? So I've kind of noticed, you know, the same way when I see a comic friend of mine trying to get himself, like, trying to talk to celebrities, like, I do it. No one's perfect. Every now and then you just get a little bit of a hard-on on Twitter and start doing some dumb shit, trying to just get something going. Just make something happen, you know? Just fucking make something happen on Twitter. Let's talk to Tom Hanks. Maybe he'll answer me. You just want something, you know? And I've seen some of the younger comedians of color out there. They're like, I went to the fucking store. I asked for a lollipop and they fucking looked at me twice. That was the most random example. That was a terrible example. But I noticed, like, chicks, they tend to, they shit on white, like, dudes. Like, it's just, I was like, man, if I was this racist about an entire race, holy shit, people would want to have to talk to me. You know? I don't think it's a problem yet, but it's dangerous. It's like a dangerous game we're playing right now, where we're using these we're like separating ourselves as much as possible, drawing a lot of barriers around ourselves, and saying, but at the same time saying like, no, it's cool. Like this is bringing us closer together. It's like, no, it's not, man. There was a clip from Celtics late night where me, Corey, Orlando, and Tawanda all hanging out. I'm the only white guy in that crew. And and we're all like joking around. We've been shooting for fucking hours. And been shooting for all those hours and shit. And you know, we're kind of punch drunk and loopy. And in one of the clips, and my phone goes off, and I said something like they're breaking my balls about the phone, how unprofessional, and I'm like, I know, and then I'm like, oh, it's my boring black comedian alarm, and we all have like a laugh, and we all just continue breaking each other's balls, and it's like, we're all good friends, especially me and Corey and Orlando. I mean, we're all good friends. Tawanda's a good friend too, but me and Corey and Orlando go like 8 years back of being friends, and now me and Tawanda too. But I've been on the road with both those guys a lot, all kinds of shit. What's the point here? The point of this is we're just friends. I really like this clip because I was like, we're just friends hanging out, making fun of each other. And yeah, I brought up race, but it's just kind of like what I was talking about with those high school kids I just saw. It's like, I just wanted to bring it up because it's like this weird moment happens when you bring it up where everyone goes, hey, like everyone laughs naturally and then kind of goes, hey, was that cool, like, to laugh at or not? I don't understand, like, if I should be laughing or not. And then it gets fucking, like, all this just weird, too much math is happening in people's heads, too much weird shit is happening in the air, and they don't know what they want to do. I'm having this weird issue with one of my tires right now where it's, like, occasionally shaking. I don't know what the fuck the deal is with it. It stopped for a while, didn't do it for a while, now it's doing it again. Maybe God heard me talking about race and was like, you should stop. Willie, you should stop talking about race. No one wants to hear it. But yeah, I thought the clip was really good because it was like earlier in the week, Jackie Bradley and Brock Holt, who are a black man and a white man on the Red Sox, had like this funny moment where Brock hugged Jackie Bradley after he made this incredible catch. And it reminded me, their dynamic for that second kind of reminded me of me and Corey sometimes. Even though Corey's a very, like, he's down with a hug. He's not like a fucking too cool for school type of guy. But sometimes I'm like high and excited. I'm like, Corey! And I just give him like this big fucking hug. And he's like, all right. I'm a little tougher than you, Will. You don't have to be such a fucking Nancy boy all the time, Willie. So, so I fucking screenshot it, and I'm like, hey, every time I see Corey Rodriguez, and this is my naivete. Again, I was kind of like, oh, this isn't even like very racial. I was like, this is just us, and this is all positive all the way around. But I noticed it like died on the Vine. Like people just didn't seem like they wanted to do anything with it or like it or unlike it. So I was like, I think anything racial right now is just untouchable. Man, I gotta fucking pull over. Car's making some weird sounds right now. This happened a month ago. It's something to do. Honestly, what I think, I put air in the tires today. I swear one of my tires has like too much air in it, but it like fucking registers on the thing of having not very much air in it. Good. This is a fascinating podcast material, I'm sure. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up because I'm going to pull over and hopefully not be fucking stuck in this fucked up place. I'm starting to get tired. It is now 3:05 in the morning, and I'm driving down 93 South. I'm heading home. Just entered Medford. Only a few stops away. Maybe it's just the highway and not the car at all, because now that I'm on a better road, it doesn't feel like it's shaking as much. I don't know. Anyway, guys, kind of a weird episode this week, I know, but what are you going to do, right? This is hypothetically. Last week was like a hypothetically crossover, so at least it's a full episode, right? Right? Thanks to Jess for her donation last week. We got a few donations from a bunch of people. Mike, Jess, Mike Osborne, thank you very much for your donation. $25. Paid for the show this week, or paid for a big chunk of the subscription this week. So thanks, Mike Osborne. All right, guys, remember, if no one told you they love you, today I do. Peace out, everybody. Test. Oh, they were just fogged. Testing. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3.